Yo guys, Coach Theo here on Common Sense. Proper programming prevails for natural muscle growth, alright? It's a single one most important factor, assuming all performance factors are in place, that you're training hard enough, that you're using proper form so you actually engage the muscles you want to train and grow, that you're eating enough to support muscle growth, and that you're recovering from it, so that you're sleeping enough and just not stressing out like crazy. Assuming that all this performance stuff is in place and all of that, it comes first really. But then the most important thing you can do, like the biggest influence on your training, is going to be proper programming. And it might sound a little bit like bullshit to someone, because there is no like magic program. It's not that, like the secret program that gets you jacked. You're gonna have to train hard enough and use proper form and all that, but some people just understand programming, so they have such a poor understanding of it that they actually train quite hard and use proper form, but they still don't see good results because they don't just understand how to structure their training properly. And then it's just that, yes, you could use a subpar program and still make progress, but that's where most people have room for improvement. So in this video, I'm just gonna talk a little bit generally about what influences how good a program is. So, of course, we have our split in a program. So that's how do we divide our body into workouts, basically. So one split is, of course, full body workouts. We have upper, lower, splitting the body in two. Usually you do 2 workouts of each per week then. We have the push-pull legs. So, pushing the front muscles here, the chest, shoulders, triceps, basically. The pulling muscles, the back and biceps, and the legs are the legs, right? And then we have different custom splits. I myself right now follow a split that's pretty much like the love child between push-pull legs and upper-lower. Have an upper-lower rest, push-pull legs rest. But actually, I don't rest on my rest days. Those are kind of misc days, and I take rest days when I feel I need it, But all of these could be like an optimal program, in my opinion. But then it's like, how do you structure them all together? So then we have, of course, volume. How many sets? Volume is usually measured in hard sets per body part. So you could, if you compare, for instance, push-pull legs and upper-lower, and if we have upper-lower that you do 4 workouts per week, push-pull legs that you do 6 workouts, well, most likely, right, you're gonna have to do a little bit more volume on the upper workouts to kind of cover what you get when you split them into 2 separate, like push-pull on the push-pull legs. But basically, somewhere between 10 and 20, sets is where you want to be for a proper programming. But the thing is, if you're a complete beginner, you're probably gonna get away with less. It's gonna be a little bit individual. Some muscles, you're gonna find that I get away with lower volume than others. And then we also have to ask, like, do we mean like very direct sets? Like, say for instance, I do a bench press. It's kind of obvious that it's a chest set, right? But it's gonna be a shoulder set too. Like, do we count that to our shoulder volume? So it's like a rough goal to go for. But if you know too, this is, of course, you gotta know what muscles are engaged in a big exercise like that. Like even when you're not necessarily doing, like if you're doing a chest press, a bench press for chest, you gotta know that, you're gonna hit shoulders and triceps as well, and it's gonna influence how much like actual more direct or exercises where the shoulder or triceps is the main mover you can do. But then it's the frequency, of course. I'd say with most splits, you're going to want to have, you're gonna want to hit every muscle twice per week. But in full body splits, for instance, you can, when we talk about 10 to 20 sets, for instance, you could say that we have a push-pull legs program, and your push workout, you actually have 10 sets for chest, for instance. Now, if you do full body every day, which is kind of an advanced technique, and I wouldn't advise it for most people, but now we could probably get in one chest exercise every day and do like 3 sets of that. Like, because, you can recover. You're going to recover faster for lower volume on one day. But it's kind of like, we got to understand the room we have to work within here. And of course, when we say so the general rule for me, I would say with most splits, the full body kind of custom split there would be the exception. because then you're splitting the total volume just on more days. But I'd say twice per week, most muscles. And of course, then you want to spread them out as much as possible so that you get most time to recover in between, right? Then, of course, so after a split and a volume and frequency, the exercise selection, of course, like we want to pick the right exercise for us. Like take the bench press again. Like, yeah, absolutely, for a lot of people, a good chest builder, but for someone with their anatomy, they're just not gonna feel it as much in the chest. They're not gonna see as much result in the chest, even if they keep adding weight to the bar, right? Maybe they're just built in a way that their shoulders just take over the movement. And for someone like that, it might be a better idea to actually use a dumbbell press as a main movement, because you can get a more pure movement contraction for the chest like that, or something like ring push-ups, great exercise as well. But it's like, do you see what I mean? That to optimize gains for you, you're gonna find it's not just like you can't just, you know, many times it's gonna be the obvious choice that is the best one. But what you can do to optimize and improve gains is to find like better alternatives and go with them. So yes, it's both the exercise selection, but then it's also the order or sequence that I call it. So both that, you know, you see some people sometimes that kind of, or like, let's stay with selection for a little bit. Like if we're talking chest again, and we want our 20 sets, and let's say again, we have 2 push workouts per week when we do 10-ish sets. Like if we want to develop the entire chest, and we choose something like a flat bench press, a flat dumbbell press, and a neutral cable fly, or like a pec deck, again, we're going to see some chest growth, but there's room for improvement there if you want to target the entire chest. We should, for instance, get one on an incline angle, so we target more of the upper fibers. Maybe you want to get in a dip or something, so that we target more of the lower fibers, right? So the exercise selection is going to matter for how good or like how well-rounded progress you see. But then we talk about exercise order. So it makes sense to most people, but clearly not everyone when you look around in the gym. But it makes sense for most people that, yeah, I do the heaviest, the biggest movements first, my compounds first. And we can kind of roughly categorize exercises we do in the gym to build muscle into 3 categories. Like tier 1 would be like the main compounds, you know, bench press, shoulder press, weighted chin-ups, barbell rows, deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, squats, front squats, like really big exercises like that. Then we have tier 2 exercises that might be multi-joint movements, but just not quite as taxing, or it doesn't engage quite as many muscles as these big ones. Examples could be like a lat pull down, maybe like a dumbbell press, you know, some kind of split squat, these kinds of exercises. Then we have like tier 3 exercises that are more isolated, like a lateral raise for shoulder, or a bicep curl, tricep push down, leg extensions. Even within these, I would say you could kind of split isolated exercises into 2 different tiers. Like take for bicep, for instance, take a barbell curl or a preacher curl. It's very isolated to the biceps, but you're going to be able to move a lot more weight than an isolated like dumbbell exercise or cable exercise, but then you might get an even purer isolation of the muscle. But yeah, most people will understand that most of the time we would want to start our workout with like 1 or 2 tier 1 exercises, follow with like 1, 2, 3 tier 2 exercises, followed by like 1, 2, 3 tier 3 exercises. But here, for instance, we can influence how we target. So let's say me, for instance, right now, biceps, it's just a stubborn muscle for me. Like, they look decent here right now, but if you see my triceps, it's been a lot easier for me to grow my triceps, and I've tried a lot of things. So, but I've mostly been putting biceps at the end of different upper or pull workouts. So something I'm gonna try now is, because maybe I've just taxed my biceps and overall fatigued myself too much when I get to the biceps exercises at the end. So I just can't give it my all, get that full stimulation for what seems to be a stubborn body part for me, right? So I am gonna try starting with 1 or 2 isolated biceps exercises before going into my heavier pulling work, like weighted chin-ups and rows and that. But if you're someone that's looking for just like overall progression, or like in this case you want like a big back, it would be dumb to not start with something like a weighted chin-up or a barbell row, like, because then you're just wasting energy really on something that's less bang for your buck. But very specifically, if you have like a weak body part you want to target like that, then, so you see, the point is though that you gotta be smart with not only what exercises you choose, but in what order you do them. And I call it sequence. I see it as a sequence, you know, in my case here, the biceps curl that goes into later the heavier back exercises like that. But yeah, this is basically, I would say, the basics. Like, of course, we can get into details of why, like, to talk about specific programs and why we choose to structure it that way, for what kind of person we would structure it that way. But now, these are things to keep in mind if you know, are building your own workout program like that. And yeah, this is of course something I bring to my clients in my coaching. You can reach out on a DM on Instagram or email me. It's all in the description below. Please leave a comment. I want to do more bodybuilding content like this, so please let me know what more you'd like to see. I'm considering this big, longer video where I actually go through my like entire lifting, power building, holistic bodybuilding philosophy. But I've told you that before, and I just haven't seen all that much excitement for it, so I'd like to hear more. Like, would you like to see that? Please let me know. Please subscribe for more content about fitness, fasting, losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It's a mindset, guys. Proper programming prevails. Peace.